Welcome to Sports with Marlon. Today in the studio we have Mr. Suresh Subramaniam, the newly elected President of the National Olympic Committee. Suresh is a former member of the Sri Lanka Davis Cup team and was also the past President of the Sri Lanka Tennis Association from 2002 to 2007. Suresh was ranked the number one player in both singles and doubles in 1981. He was also coach of the Davis Cup squad in 1989-1990 and captain in 2002, when he left the tennis court to join the boardroom. His service to tennis has not solely been confined to Sri Lanka, having held the position of General Secretary of the Asian Tennis Federation since 2006. He has been responsible for starting the Asian 14 and under circuit, which has spread to over 25 countries with more than 60 tournaments played every year. Suresh was awarded the SLTA Award for Service during its centenary celebrations in 2015. Among his other initiatives for the betterment of tennis was re-initiating wheelchair tennis for war victims, as well as introducing tennis to the hearing impaired children at the School of the Deaf and Blind in Colombo. For the many things that Suresh has done in his capacity, even the ITF recognized and awarded him with a trophy for the Best Run Federation in 2005. Mr. Subramaniam is the Chief Executive Officer and Director of Arrow International Limited, a leading trading company he launched 24 years ago, and he is also a proud product of Royal College Colombo. Let me welcome Mr. Suresh Subramaniam to our studio.
Thank you.
Welcome, Suresh.
Thank you.
Suresh, to start off with, the recently concluded elections for the president of NOC was tipped to be a closely contested one, but eventually you won it quite handsomely. How did you manage to do that, Suresh?
I have been involved in electioneering in sports for a long time. And particularly in the tennis field, nobody ever contested me. I was always uncontested. So my first visit to National Olympic Committee was 4 years ago. There again, if I was a new person entering, and I did not know any federation other than one or two. I still remember my opponents, campaigning, and they were so sure that they will win. But there again, I won 18 votes to 12. Coming here, 4 years later, I have already established myself what I can do for sports and what I have done last 4 years. So I was, number one, I was surprised that somebody dared contest me. Number two, they were claiming that they were close. In fact, I told my friends they'll never be going to be close. In fact, I obtained 21 votes, which is more than last time. So there were no questions of getting closer. But the reason for my winning is very simple. I maintain transparency right along. It is not only speaking, but you got to actually get down to do it. A lot of people make that mistake. They talk about transparency. They only talk about transparency, and it doesn't go beyond that. And the other thing is integrity is very important. And of course, you got to produce results. So the last 4 years, whatever I have done, obviously the federation accepted and they believe in me. So I won't let them down. Going forward, I will make sure my next target is that we need to win some medals, which I am determined. We have already put things in place. So let's see how it goes.
Okay. Suresh, many know Suresh Subramaniam as a brilliant tennis player in his heyday. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself from a personal perspective?
Yes, I got involved in tennis because my father was a tennis player. Some of my uncles also played tennis, so naturally, you won't believe I played under 14 cricket for Royal team. I was in the under 14 cricket team, I was in the football team, so I played so many other sports. So to be very honest, if I was not forced to play tennis, I would have been playing either rugby or cricket. because it's a team game, less pressure on you. Tennis, you have a lot of pressure because it's an individual sport. But anyway, I had a lot of support from my late father. I don't think when he introduced the tennis racket to me, he never ever thought I will go the distance that I have been. So I'm very grateful for that. Of course, I had the support from my brother and my mother. Naturally, she hardly anybody knows my mother, but she had only seen when I was playing the national finals. Otherwise, she had never been. Of course, she knows all the details. So tennis had taught me a lot. Particularly, I must tell you, the time we were playing, we never had an honors committee. We never had as a result, you are always you're watching over your shoulders all the time, who is going to do what. So when I took over office, I made sure that does not happen to any child. So that is how I work. At the end of the day, you are dealing with children, not with adults. A lot of people make mistakes. When they have a problem with the parent, they take it on the child. That is completely wrong. You are dealing with the children. You don't hurt a child. So that's the reason I'm reasonably successful.
Suresh, you continued in the capacity as NOC chairman, and you're continuing for another 4 years now. The last 4 years, what has the NOC achieved, and are you happy with the way the NOC is functioning?
Yes, I'm pleased. Not that I'm happy, I'm pleased the way we are moving, because I was able to build a unity. Though I said first election I got 18 and my opponent got 12, out of the 12, at least 6 federations joined hand with me, despite me offering all of them to come and join, because I never had any personal problem, or neither they had any personal problem with me, because I was never involved. So what I did was I was able to bridge that unity, which were not there. I was able to bridge to a certain extent. That's one. Two, the procedures wasn't there. You see, there is no financial procedures, there is no procurement procedures. So those administrative things has to be done, because we are going as an administrator. I am not going there to coach a champion. I am going there as an administrator. So before we start producing champions, and look at our administrative skill has to be there. So I was able to get all that in place. Those every detail, whether it's a financial procedures, procurement procedures, selection of team, constitution, everything is put in place. In fact, every day I'm looking at, we had to upgrade our constitution to suit the international. There are certain, which were done, very quickly because it wasn't there. So we had to upgrade those. And we have to be with the IOC. We must keep up to them, because every day there are new things coming up. Anti-doping is coming. Power, this is one of the part, we had to look at it. Today, the new thing that has come from last year is bullying and manipulating. So we had to upgrade our this thing. So I'm always trying to achieve what they have achieved. It's not easy, because any law that need to be passed or changed in our constitution, we have to get 2/3, which means you have to convince all our members. They must believe in us. But sometimes you try to do constitution and law to suit you. It's not that. We must suit the law so that we can find the end result is producing players and champions. So that way I had a lot of administrative things have been put in place. And on the second thing is the sponsorship. When you have a good leader, trusted leader, and if the corporate world accept you, it was very easy. So for instance, this year, the first year that we have made 19 million rupees profit, first time in the history of Olympic Committee. When I say this year, this was 2020. I feel it will be much more for 2021. We have closer to 200 odd million rupees in the deposits, which I can tell you before 2022 it will be 500. So, and this is, and we spend lavishly. When I say we spend lavishly, not on committee members, on the up and coming players, where a certain federation need help. So we do, and to be honest, the last 4 years, we had a very, very close team. Each one supported. Of course, having said that, 2-3 people I had to get rid of, which I was happy to do it. When they didn't fall in line, don't hesitate, they got to go. And this time, our committee, we have at least 5 new people who have come. So to me, to run a federation or organization, I don't need friends. That's what a lot of people make mistake. They want friends. End of the day, if you are doing a job or work, why do you need friends? You need to do a job or work. You don't. As far as it's done, that matters. So far good. So that's how I can say at the moment admission. But let's see. In fact, to be honest, last 4 years we had organized various scholarships, trained our children in China. We had some Chinese coaches coming down and training here. We had an Iranian coach who was training our karate, wushu. So all these sports, we have got coaches down and we had sent. In fact, this year, before end of this month, there is some of our weightlifters are going to Iran to train. Some of them are going to Albania. We had some athletes trained in Qatar. Because of our friendship, we get it from the Olympic Committee. In Olympic Committee, Qatar is not only powerful, they are very rich. So we have a very good rapport with them. Qatar, in fact, I know we had spoken to Saudi because these people, they have big centers. Top international coaches are there. So we must get our people there because by the time we set up our thing to international, it's going to take a long time. So we might as well pick the cream and send them for training overseas.
Right. Now, Suresh, 1948 was when Duncan White won the first Olympic medal for Sri Lanka. And thereafter, year 2000, when Susantika Jayasinghe won the silver medal at the Sydney Olympics. It's been 22 long years. What are your short-term plans, and perhaps during your tenure now, and perhaps the long-term plans that you have in place that perhaps would help Sri Lanka win a medal? And when do you realistically feel that we could win an Olympic medal next?
You see, Marlon, to answer your question, short-term plan can come only when you have a long-term plan. If you don't have a long-term plan, you will only do haphazardly just for the moment. You cannot win a medal. If somebody says in 4 years you can win a medal, I think they don't know what sport is. It's to produce a medal, it'll take minimum 8 years. 12 years is comfortable to produce a medal. Why I'm saying is you got to start training today. It is not your physical fitness, it is not your mental strength, it is not your focus. Today, sports has become science. So, we are having all this. Because recently, I've been visiting various Olympic. Whenever I go on my business, I make a point to go and see these athletes, some sports being trained, internationally, just to acquire knowledge. So, I was in China in 2018. I met up with the Chinese Olympic Committee president. He was very kind enough to sign a MOU with us to give free training for Sri Lankan athletes. So, I was quite friendly with the guy. So, I wanted him to take me to one of the training centers where there were long jump being done. And I saw these athletes, they were all wired when they are doing. So, when I asked him, the trainer told me from that, he couldn't speak English, so he had the translator. When they are jumping, it showed on the TV screen and on the computer which muscle is weak. Come on. Now we train, only when we get injured, we realize that muscle is weak and we start training. Now internationally today they are training while watching. Before even injured, he said if they go continue with that, they are going to get injured. So they are starting before. So that's a different. So it is a science now. So we still don't have that facilities. Very recently, my secretary was able to work with the Peradeniya University, one Dr. Asela Gunuvardna, working with the, the weightlifters. That's one of the reasons this time when the weightlifters went to World Championship, we had a lot of medals. So they have fixed all this, very primitive still, but we want to do it. We had to start somewhere. And we were able to see what's the mistake they are. In fact, when they are lifting, whether they are lifting right, all that. So these have been monitored now. So you will see the results when it comes for next Olympic, these results, but already it started showing. So I'm sure this time when we go for Commonwealth Games, middle of the year and followed by Asian Games, we will certainly win some medals. So we have to do that for almost every sport. It's not only one sport. We can't afford to do it. Let's be honest about it. Country is struggling. sports was never given due recognition by any government. Whatever money they give money for the sports ministry administration. I think this is the first time. I believe last year the honorable minister started giving money to the various federations. Otherwise it's a big battle. Now I'm involved in tennis. First time I think in my whole life in tennis that governments gave money. Other they never give money. So without money it's very difficult. And also as an administrator also we have a lot of faults because we consider ourselves volunteers, which is right. We are doing it pure because I love the sport. At least that's what I do it because I love the sport. I'm not there to looking for gains, not me. So I don't want to accuse anybody. But the biggest mistake we make, because we are volunteers, we give our time only when we have time. Now that is wrong. I had told this to the minister. I had told that, look, if you are a volunteer, you are coming to do, so you have to give time for the sport that you are in. Don't what I'm saying is if you have a meeting only when you have time. There are so many things has to be done. So when you have time, you can't wait. You got to do it, attend to it. So in my time during my tennis career also, when I was the president, first thing I did was tennis work before I start. Because once you start my work, everybody will have that problem. Then you have no time. Even here, I spend every day 2 hours Olympic work. Then only I go for my work. So that is what I want them to do. I want their administrator to know, look, please, you are coming on your own. You want to spend your time, but give priority. Sometimes we have to fix meeting. When you fix meeting only when you have time. Wrong. You have to take decision. So in my meetings with the tennis, even here, day, time and which week of the month meeting is fixed for the whole year. So everybody knows this is a day meeting you got to attend. Of course, now after COVID it has become easy because you could take it on Zoom. At least we were able to do that. But I tell them, look, fixed. For me, it's first Tuesday of every month is the NOC meeting, all must attend. Subcommittee meeting is third week, I can't remember often. So they have to meet and it's all given. So when they are making other plans, they say, if you don't give priority, then don't serve. So to win a medal, Marlon, it's not only athlete. The administrators must be committed. The government must be committed. Coaches has to be committed. Parents must be committed and they must trust the coaches and everybody around. You see, that is also important. Then only the players can work. It is not the player and the coach, no. The entire machinery must work together.
You brought up a very interesting point with regards to science playing a major role with athletes. Now, I mean, if you take the African countries, Kenya, for example, these athletes are known to win long distance medals in competition. That's simply because they train at altitudes at high altitudes, 6,000 feet above sea level. Now, other countries, I read somewhere where even prior to going for an event, even the accommodation in their home countries are temperature controlled, so their body is acclimatized to the temperature of the country that they are going to. And also, I read somewhere that even airlines, when they transport the athletes, sometimes they fly at a certain altitude as well. So all these things are supposed to be part of science. It's very interesting that you brought this up. Now, my next question is, quite rightly, as you said, it takes about 8 years to 12 years to produce a medal winner. If countries like, let's say, America, Australia, China continuously keep winning medals, they tend to spot talent at a very young age, and then they've got a system and a structure and processes in place and the support that they have. Do you see Sri Lanka moving in that direction?
No, you see, as I told you, before a player wins, now you brought out Susantika and Duncan White. Of course, Duncan White won before he was born. Now, if you take Susantika's time, it is pure her talent that took her there. I remember that when Susantika won in 2000, I was heavily involved in tennis, talking to one of the professors in Sri Lanka. They said Susantika is one of them who had fast twitch muscle, which is you need for a sprinter. And majority of the Sri Lankans have slow twitch muscle. So you see, that is also 20 years ago. So, some of those things are important to know when you are taking part in the event, whether it is important, what muscle suits whom. So for us, they always say, for Sri Lankan, they always said, look, we should participate in diving, weightlifting, because of the height. A tall man can't lift it. A tall guy can't dive. You need a short. So these are the things we should, average Sri Lankans are below 6. So we should concentrate. Of course, there is someone who is rare like Susantika may produce. So what we have to do is now, having said that, what I wanted to suggest and what I have suggested. Let's take one sport like athletic, which had one medal, and till today athletic is going on their past. Last 20 years, nothing. So now, if we have to win a medal, let's say 8 years, now we have to work backward what we knew to do. Now, I had asked this federation to give me. Now, I can't write for other federations because I can write about tennis, but not about the other federation. Till today, none of the federation had come up with. So that itself is a big problem. First, they must say, it doesn't matter who, you want to win a medal, right? What do you do? Now you have to work backwards. Yeah. So until that is done, in fact, I met the minister very recently. I told them, you must get this done first. How are we going to win the medal and how are you going to do it? Then we need to work on that. Then there is cost factor. That's number one. Then can the government give? I'm sure there are private sector guys who are involved with me may come and support us.
Suresh, another interesting question is that officials who go on tour tend to have a gala time under the Sri Lankan banner, but come home empty-handed without any medals. What have you got to say about that?
You see, that is the accusation everybody have been saying, but now I am involved with Olympic Committee only I realize, I'll give you one sport, one game, like if you take an Olympic sport, this time they had the sport under COVID condition. So they wanted a liaison officer for COVID. This is not our requirement, their requirement. So which means we need to take a doctor or somebody who understands the matter. When you say officials, it is very unfair for them to tarnish every official. Now again, Olympics, when we go, I am an official because I am the president. I must go because during the Olympic they will have the meetings on the sideline. We have meetings, and likewise even all the other federation have the meetings. So invariably other federation president or secretary must go. Otherwise they are the one who is going to lose out. They must go. Number two, the coaches are going. They must go because the player is going. They must have a coach. So recently in our Olympic, we had Matilda Carlson, who was participating in the Shojam equestrian. She wanted 6 to 8 slots for her. That is coach, horse trainer, groomer, dietitian for the horse, which new sport we didn't even know. So whereas that, the official requirement is decided by the IOC for any games. They will tell you equestrian, this time of course they gave only 3 slots. So we had to tell her, you take who are the 3 that is important, what else to do? Because of the COVID, they want to keep the number down, they didn't tell up. Otherwise, normally the owner of the horse also goes. He's invited by IOC, says he can come. So officials going for a joyride, maybe some of them doing, but I can assure you, under my leadership, nobody goes on joyride.
Suresh, I know you and your team have, really strived hard over the last 4 years. What are some of the biggest challenges that the NOC faces at this moment in time, and what is the support that you would really need to take this forward?
The biggest challenge that we are facing at the moment, not at the moment, it has been there for the last almost 8 to 9 years, but it has now come to a blow at the moment, is the sports law. Our sports law is 1973, is the very old sports law compared to the rest of the world. In fact, we were oldest being Iraq, but even they had upgraded the sports law. So very recently during the Olympic, the International Olympic Committee members met the Honorable Minister, met the Secretary, DG, and they told them, and they had brought to their knowledge, the sports law must be upgraded. It must be a new sports law, must be brought in. Unfortunately, I am not sure how serious they have taken that. You see, IOC suspended India, they suspended Pakistan, they suspended even Kuwait. Why I say Kuwait is because the Olympic Council of Asia president is from Kuwait. With all that, they suspended Kuwait. At the moment, due to doping, for various reasons, doping, they had suspended Russia. They could not, they permitted, because it was Russia, to participate under the Olympic banner. They didn't allow them to use Russian flag. So we are small people. So we don't have the same strength or power to convince IOC, but we have to change the sports law. Excuse me. If that sports law is not changed, there are a lot of discrepancies, because a lot of things have happened now. So we have to change. And that is the biggest challenge we are facing after doing all these work. Imagine Sri Lanka is not allowed to participate. This, let me tell you, 1978, we had a Davis Cup match against Chinese Taipei, and I was in the team. We did not have a diplomatic relationship, and they did not allow us to play against Chinese Taipei. It was Taiwan at that time. What were the end results? International Federation suspended Sri Lanka for 4 years. Tennis plummeted, because our biggest event is Davis Cup. It never recovered. So a thing like that is detrimental. If IOC takes a firm stand and say, look, last 10 years we have been given warning, even very recently also a letter had come, they must upgrade. Because the issue is, they are very worried. Every time a new law comes in, we have to keep them informed. Regulations. So when the regulation contradicts the sports law, it's a big problem. So you can't have that. So they wanted upgrade, and there should not be political interference. Those are the few things, So, and also the NOC was formed in 1937. Sports law is 1973, and almost 35 years later. So we have to work together and arrange that. I'm sure only this minister can do it, because he is a sportsman. Anybody else were not interested. Let me tell you, in the past, there was one or two good people, but others were not interested in sports. They were only interested in holding office, I think.
Suresh, according to the sports law, does Sri Lanka cricket come under the NOC in some way or the other?
No, cricket is going to be part of Olympic sport from 2028. So the process are being done now. So maybe next 2 years, once they sign up, that is IOC and ICC are working together. Once that is come, then cricket also will come under Olympic sport. So if IOC had to give clearance, then it will be all right. Until such time, still not. But the process is taking place. I know that for sure.
Suresh, the National Selection Sports Council, I think the chairman of the NOC and the secretary is also part of this committee. Would you like to elaborate a little bit about this committee and what exactly is your role? And if that is the case, do all sports bodies, whenever selections are made, let's take, for example, the Sri Lanka cricket team, if the selection is being made, is it finally approved by this committee?
Yeah, NSSC is an apex body. Like the Olympic is an apex body. As per the sports law, NOC president and the secretary general are permanent members. So the other 3 members are, I believe it's appointed by the minister. So this time we have General Shavendra Silva. Before him, it was General Daratnayaka was there. I don't know who was there before. So this 5-member body, final approval for any sport, it's not only Olympic sport, any sport, it has to be approved by us. It is not only the team selection, even the selection of the selection committee is also approved by us. So we appoint the selection committee, and we select once the selection committee of respective sports, when they made the recommendation, it comes to us and we go through all the details. And it's fairly very straightforward and very transparent. There is no hanky-panky. And it has been quite easy to work with General Shavan, though he's a very, very busy man. He gives a free hand to us, and whatever problem we have, we go to him. He himself a good sportsman. He's a cricketer. I didn't realize till I went, he was a cricketer.
I think he played for St. Thomas's Martley.
That's right, yes.
And he was a super
And he was in this,
yeah.
I was told that he was in the Sri Lanka pool also, though he couldn't make it. So that is an apex body. Though various people try to influence, I can tell you, nobody can influence us. No way.
So recently, the Sri Lankan selectors, Pramod Wickramasinghe, Hemanta Wickramaratne and Romesh Kalwitarna, I mean, their work, their selections had been brilliant. And even Sri Lanka Cricket rewarded them with a 1 million rupee reward. So this particular committee also, was it finally approved by your committee?
If I answer one word answer, no, it's not appointed by us.
Is it against the sport law then?
I think so. It is against the sport law, but we did not appoint them because as far as the Olympic Committee is concerned, we had to be sure that we don't violate the Olympic Charter. The Olympic Charter has so many things like bullying, manipulating, various things has to be looked into. So if you have that kind of problem, character, I personally don't agree. Because when I take over or when I got elected as the president, not this time, within 48 hours I had to sign a declaration document that anything to do with sports, that I bring it to their notice, whether it's right or wrong. So when I took Monday first thing would be, because I was busy with the Commonwealth baton, so I couldn't do it. That's the declaration I give. So I am liable if anything goes wrong here. And if I do it knowingly, I'll be in big trouble. So I think people must understand. So I am taking a huge risk on behalf of all the sports. And in return, all my committee members also have to sign. So nobody want to take the risk because consequences can be serious. It's not Sri Lanka, they are dealing with international committee. And at my age, after doing so much, I don't want to leave any black mark for me, which I have always done with integrity. So there is no way I will stoop to anything. What is right for me. As they say, right is might.
We're coming to the end of this program, and we're going to ask Suresh one final question. Suresh, how do we improve sports overall in this country?
Yeah, as I told you, Marlon, improve the sport or win a medal is not easy, and it is not difficult either. So the number one thing is, as I told you, all administrators who are volunteers must commit their time. Number two, all the administrators, coaches, parents, players and the ministry officials must work in unison. There must be unity and they all must have one common goal. Very simple as that. Then favoritism and all should not come in. I mean, you will never find anybody at that point of finger and me, I chose somebody on favor. No way. As a result, it makes it very easy for the players. You don't have to, if I put it in, you don't have to suck up to the officials. They say, you come and win, you are in. That's all. Very simple theory. So that means they have to perform. Only time they perform is when they are confident that whatever they do is recognized. So in simple, we had to be transparent. Again, our integrity must be there. We must work in unity. Very important. The balance will fall in place. The performance, the science and all that we can have. This is also important, very important ingredient because the players should not be under pressure other than concentrating on the match. Yeah, that is the problem. Even having won a match, can a player say, no, I won, I am in the team? Can they say that? Tennis, they can say that. When they won, they know they are in. Can they say that for other sport? I don't know.
Right, Suresh, we've come to the end of our program. Is there any message that you would like to leave the viewers with?
Yes.
Sportsmen, budding sportsmen, any advice to any youngsters, anything that you would like to share as we wrap up?
Yes, one important message I can give it to the youngsters is whatever you do, number one, you have to focus on what you are doing. Without the focus, you can have your 8 hours sleep, you can do your training, everything, but the focus must be there. What is your focus and what is your end goal? If you have these two, the youngsters can achieve. Nobody can stop them.
Right. So with that, we come to the end of another edition with Sports with Marlon. Today we had Mr. Suresh Subramaniam. Thank you, Suresh, for being with us.
Thank you very
in the
much,
studio
Marlon,
today.
for having me. Good luck. And I hope next time when I come, we have a medal.
That will be wonderful. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank
and
you.
I wish you and the NOC all the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.